you just maybe a little bit nervous on where to start with sublimation? What should that first press be? Are you going to screw it up? What's going to happen? I totally know how you feel. When I started, I felt completely overwhelmed because there were so many choices and options. And I feel like a lot of us get into that analysis paralysis of, oh my gosh, what if? Well, here I'm going to give you some very basic projects that you can start with and really just create something great right out of the box. So the first thing you want to do is actually not order substrates. First thing you want to do is go to your local fabric store or order some online, and you want 1 to 2 yards of 100% polyester white fabric. And I actually keep this in my office and workspace at all times, and that allows me to test out prints and presses without wasting anything. Our substrates can get really, really expensive and waste not, want not, right? So while I do have ways to utilize messed up projects, I don't want to start there. I want to start with something that if I mess it up, it's not a big deal. So go and grab that fabric. So what we're going to print on it is a color chart. So what this allows us to do is see if our colors are right, see if our press runs hot or we have any cold spots, anything like that. And we're going to press this right on to 100% white polyester. Now, we're not going to do this project today because I have 2 others planned for you, but I just want to show you in the end what this looks like. Like literally I hacked off a little thing. You don't have to cut it into anything special. And I went ahead and I printed off. Now, this is where you can go ahead and play with a lot of your settings to see which ones work perfectly for you. But the whole point of doing a color chart first, one, it's that scrap fabric that you just don't need to worry about. And that is always, you know, this just costs a couple of pennies compared to a substrate that might be much more expensive. And then the other thing is this allows us to go back and reference our colors. So we want to make sure our black is really a true black, and that when we want that perfect Christmas red, we can just go pick it out of our color chart. And bonus, if your colors are ever off and you're really not sure what's going on, having this color chart is really, really helpful. Now, that's not a super exciting first press, and we all want to jump into something way more fun. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. I have 2 beginner projects for you, and I'm just really excited for them. Now, you may say, well, Andrea, a color chart just isn't really fun. And I'm going to agree with you. It's just one of those necessary things to do that can help us down the line. So what I'm going to talk to you now is about some projects that may be more advanced and you want to skip, and then I'm going to show you some options to start with that can definitely help you gain your confidence. 2 of the more advanced options are mugs, especially the tapered kind, and tumblers. Now, these are just a little more expensive, and something like a conical object involves warping. If you already know how to do that, it won't be so bad, but if you're not quite sure yet, I would stick to straight objects for now. And then with the tumblers, they're just far more expensive. And let's be honest, we just spent a lot of money. We don't want to be wasting our substrates learning. Now, a couple of super easy, inexpensive beginner projects, beyond the 2 we're going to do today, are neoprene coasters. And that's because they're a one-sided flat project. And the other are sandstone coasters. You can also get these in neoprene actually. But these are fun ways to display your craft right away, and they're pretty easy to get great results from the beginning. The 2 projects we're going to start with today, once you've pressed that color chart, is a garden stake, and this is a one-sided metal white garden stake, and a lens cloth. A lens cloth is a 2-sided project, but they're inexpensive, so honestly, if you mess them up, it is not a big deal. So the first thing we're going to need is our blowout paper, and I use uncoated, unwaxed, undyed butcher paper. And you can also use uncoated parchment paper. I like the butcher paper better because it can be recycled, while parchment paper has to be thrown away. Then we're going to need our transfers, and this is sublimation paper with sublimation ink. So make sure your printer is loaded with the right type of ink or it won't work. Then besides our substrates, we are going to need our high heat tape. Please don't use a tape just off your desk, it'll make a mess. And we don't want that. So make sure you get some high heat tape. It is inexpensive and easy to find. The other thing we're going to need is our repositionable adhesive spray. And it's really, really important that you have repositionable. If you get a permanent spray, you're also going to have a mess. So be sure to grab some. I like Condi's product of Condi Dye Trans Pro Spray 2. Elmer's also makes one, and I've heard of good success, but haven't tried it, of using basting spray. Hi, this is Andrea from My Very Crafty Life, and if you are enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe below. Now, let's jump over to the press and get our first few projects done. All right, we're now over at the press. I work on a GK20S from Geonite. It's a 16 by 20 swing away press. And I am at 400 degrees for 90 seconds. We're going to be doing our garden steak first. All right, so I'm going to swing that press away. I have had my butcher paper sitting here. You can keep it in or out of the press. Either way works for you. I just like to put it in. I'm going to set one page aside so we have the bottom. And what we're doing here is creating something called a sublimation sandwich. And our butcher paper is essentially our bread. Now, we're going to put our transfer in here, and we're going to put it, first you're going to notice that our transfer is mirrored. So it should be backwards, because when we go ahead and put our object on there, it will eventually look correct, I promise. Okay, so we're going to set that on our press, and then we're going to line up our item. And then what we're going to do is take our, okay, you want to line it up nice and straight. There is something called a bleed on this, and that is when there's just a little extra room around it. It allows you to position it nice and evenly. Now, we're just going to take a couple of pieces of tape, and when you're working on a single-sided item, tape is often your best choice for adhering your substrate to your transfer. Okay, so now we have that all set up, and you can see that bleed on there. Okay, and so we're going to have our transfer face up and our substrate face down. Now we're going to complete, so now we have our meat and our veggies, and we are going to complete our sublimation sandwich with our top piece of butcher paper. Now we're going to bring our press back around. Okay, now that we have our sublimation sandwich all ready to go, we're going to adjust one last thing, and that's our pressure. You'll have a similar knob somewhere on your press, and you just want to tighten it down to about a medium pressure. And it should take you just a little bit of effort to close the press, but you shouldn't be jumping on it, pushing really hard. So that's maybe a little too light. Let's go ahead and tighten that up just a little bit. And that's a nice medium pressure. So we're going to let this go for 1 minute and 30 seconds and then reveal the project to you. All right, our press is almost done. So when it beeps here, we're going to go ahead and open the press. I have my high heat gloves on so that they can go up to about 500 degrees. So we're going to carefully open our press, swing it away, okay, peel back our top layer. Now, we don't want to reuse any of our sublimation sandwich because it can then press onto our next project. But then we're just going to go ahead and pick this up and pull it away from our transfer. Take our tape off here. Make sure your tape doesn't fold back onto your project because that can definitely cause some problems. And here is our super, super cute garden steak. Now, I'm going to be gifting this to a neighbor in some flowers, but you could definitely put tomatoes on there or basil if you're into gardening. I just wanted to do a super cute, quick project that I can share with someone else. All right, now we're gonna move on to our lens cloth. We're gonna need a couple of extra things here. Of course, we have our butcher paper, and don't mind the press of it being, I had to turn it down for this project. First thing we're gonna do is go ahead and lint roll. So anytime you are working with fabric, it is a really good idea to lint roll your project. You wanna make sure it's two-sided, so we do both sides here. And we're just getting off anything that was in it. Now, my lens cloth has some wrinkles in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a pre-press. And all I'm doing here is pressing it to make sure it is flat. Because when I work with it, when it has wrinkles, one of those wrinkles might bunch and ruin my project. All right, so now we have a nice, flat, lint rolled lens cloth. Now, I have 4 pieces of butcher paper here, and that is because we're gonna need new butcher paper for every part of this project. Okay, we don't wanna redo that, especially on two-sided items. Butcher paper is a really inexpensive purchase, and not reusing it will ensure that our projects are the highest quality and have the fewest amount of issues. Well, this box is gonna be our spray box, and that is because we are going to be using the repositionable adhesive for this box. We're going to do the back first, because revealing the end project is so much fun. All right, so we're going to set our transfer in our box, and then we're going to shake and very, very lightly spray. Okay, very lightly. And then just leave it for a couple of seconds and pick it up. We'll set our box down here, and we can go ahead and work right in our press. We're going to bring in our transfer here, and we put that in our box and sprayed it. And then what we're going to do here is we are going to work to put this in the middle. I kind of want it towards the top. I gave myself a little extra room with this project. And this is the back side of our lens cloth. So I do find on most lens cloths you can do the same thing on both sides, but when the light hits it, it just looks better if one side is more plain, or like the pattern you're using, and the other side is your design. So now I have my transfer face up. I have smoothed out all the wrinkles so that that is nice and flat. I have our substrate face down. Make sure, take your time to get out all those wrinkles, because once we press, this is permanent. And then I'm going to add the top of my sublimation sandwich, our last piece of clean butcher paper. Now, I have reduced my press to 370 degrees, and this one just takes 30 seconds. So we're going to go ahead and press that. Now, working with fabric, you can put your heat gloves on if you'd like, or you're sensitive to temperatures. I find it is perfectly okay just to work with your hands. All right, so 30 seconds goes by, not bad. We're at a medium pressure here, and that had me pushing down just a little bit on my press, but not smushing it. I know, technical terms, right? Okay, our project is done. So now we're going to open our press and push that away. Take off our top paper, and don't forget, we need to recycle that. We don't want to use it again. And see how this is still adhered to the paper? That's okay. Now all we want to do is cleanly pull that away, and you don't want it to fold on itself. So you want to keep it, just right here out until it cools down a little bit, and the sublimation process stops. All right, now we are going to take this out of the press. It is ready, so we've opened it and turned it away, flip our paper off, and we're just going to go ahead and peel our item right up. Try not to let it fold over like that. If you catch it really quick, it's not such a big deal, but especially with the blacks, it can do something called ghosting, and we don't want that. And we are done with these things. And if you didn't know, your sublimation transfers are also recyclable, just like paper, which is amazing. All right, this project just turned out so cute. So here is our first side and our front, and here is the back, which I just did with that same back gradient. Well, hopefully these 3 project ideas and me walking you through 2 of them have given you the confidence to go ahead and print and press. Now, if garden stakes aren't your thing, any one-sided metal project is super easy to do. If you are nervous about anything, go ahead and try these. They're pretty inexpensive and just fun to do and a great gift idea. Then for your slightly more complicated project, but not really, is your lens cloths. Now, you can tell that I didn't use tape on these, and that's because they're a 2-sided item, and tape can leave a little hint of where it was when pressing, so you do want that repositionable spray for that. It's a great thing to have on hand for so many of your projects. And a bottle lasts me probably 6 months. And if you're not printing and pressing for a business, it'll last you considerably longer than that. Now, I just think these turned out so cute. So that is the back. I just did the same background gradient as I did for the front. One of the things I absolutely love about sublimation, as opposed to like vinyl or some other options, is there is no cracking, no fading, no peeling. But I will tell you, it is also not an outdoor process. So if this is going to go in an outdoor garden, do coat it with a UV resistant finish coat. I hope this has given you the confidence to get printing and get pressing. I cannot wait to see what you guys create. And I would love to know if you guys tell me below, what is the first project you are pressing or did press? I love hearing about what other people are making. If you are enjoying this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That really helps. And I am excited to see you next time. In the meantime, stay crafty.